Yeah. All right. So I am going to share my screen and we can go over how the heck we're going to estimate rehab here. So I'm going to put you guys up here and then share this screen. All right. So you guys should be able to see this now, right?
Correct.
Cool. Sweet. Okay. So this is the subject property here. It is a current active listing on the MLS there in Indianapolis. Nick, you want to tell us a little bit about this property and kind of what made it stick out to you first and foremost? If you want me to scroll down or go over anything, I can do that too.
Okay. I'm actually also downloading the Google Drive as well. I didn't know if that was something that I could share in this thing, if anyone wanted to check that out.
I got it right here.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Yep.
So guys, I actually just went and visited this property earlier today. The reason that it sparked interest is that in the entire street, the Iowa street, has been just next door. All those houses have been completely done, and it's considerably safer than some of the other areas downtown. Yeah, that street view it's pretty accurate. Matter of fact, if you turn back over to that the empty lot over there, keep going.
This one?
Yeah, that house is done. So this is outdated, obviously. Oh. But yeah, that house there is, keep turning right to the White House. It's like a duplicate of that house. They look almost the exact same. And they both sold for over $400,000. So that greenhouse.
And then this is
that's the subject, yeah. The greenhouse with the wooden columns sold for like almost 500. I think it said 486. No, I
here's that White House
because it was 4 bathrooms. Like that, there's a lot of bathrooms in there. So
yeah, this is the house that just got finished. This is that other White House. This is the done one that sold for $425 as a brand new house on here. So
yeah. So and then if you go down the street some more, on the flip side, there's another one that looks almost exactly like it. The white and black trim is pretty popular nowadays, but this whole street has been capitalized on, and it's a nice street. It's clean. There's room. Not a lot of weird things going on. This train track, there's a train track on the west side of it, though. Some people might be deterred. I didn't find anything wrong.
The train tracks are right here. So
yeah, they're right there.
House, train tracks.
Yeah. And then actually,
but it doesn't.
If you go towards the north, the back side of all of those homes is like the garage parking. Yeah, yep. Turn down that alley there, and all of that is just. You can even look at these homes' garages, and these garages look like $50,000 buildings. Like they're pretty nice.
Yeah, this one just got some parking
that's what
here.
Sparked interest on this property when it popped up. So I went in and looked at it, and the comps, all those comps I described, they were pretty healthy. So I wanted to make sure, like, if this was something that was, we could rehab for a decent cost and earn some profit on the flip, then I want to make sure we could do that. So when I went and checked it out, the Google Drive has all of my pictures and a few videos, a couple exterior, then a really long one that's of the whole house inside.
Yep. Yeah. So like with the process, whether you're in Cincinnati with me and Tony or any of our other agents coming onto the team, or you're in Indianapolis with Nick, this is the process that we go through. So whether it's on market or off market, you get sent a listing that looks, something similar to this. Maybe it's just a Google Drive link, maybe it's some info on an off-market property, but that's kind of what we start with and kind of what we have to go off of. So we'll kind of treat this. This is obviously an on-market property. We can also pretend that it's an off-market property, and all we have is, these are the wholesaler photos, right? Because generally they're pretty terrible, right? There's like 6 of them, and they're pretty terrible to try to estimate rehab on to see if it's even something that makes any type of remote sense. So generally what I like to do is, first off, is just kind of get to know that neighborhood. So we've kind of gone through Street View, which is a super, super, super powerful tool for us, especially if you don't know the area super well, if you're out of state or you physically can't go there. It's like, okay, well, what the heck does the street look like, right? Is there people standing out on the corner? Is there cars driving by? Is there beat up cars in the road? Does it look like I'm going to get shot when I walk down this street? Like Street View can tell you a lot of different things. And obviously this Street View is telling us, hey, there's a lot of new development going on here. Lots of houses getting flipped or new ones built, or things of that nature, right? So I'll go through and kind of pull comps and just figure out what finish level we can actually get these things up to. Question?
I was just on that Street View idea, that even seeing if there's lines on the road tells you a lot about the area.
Yeah.
To me, like it tells you how busy the traffic is. If they feel that it's busy enough where they have to put lines on the road, then that kind of tells you a lot of things.
Yeah, very true.
Yep. Is it a two-way road? Is it a single way? Is there street parking? Is it a residential neighborhood street, or is it, the freaking highway? Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Literally looking at the actual street. But then obviously looking at the houses that are on that street too.
This one is it's a two-way on the front side of the house. And you could probably get by if 2 cars were coming across in the alleyway too.
Yeah. So it's definitely a smaller, quieter residential street. And then actually looking at the properties on the house. So this one right here is the one next to ours. This is that new one that in the Street View just looks like
it's a pile of rocks.
This is the foundation. This is the Street View for that house because it doesn't exist yet. So what I kind of like to do is start at the top of the neighborhood. This is literally on the same street, 2 houses down. And I'm like, okay, this house just sold for $425. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. Mm-hmm. Ours is a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, right? So obviously it's got more bathrooms and things like that. It's a little bit smaller, 2,000 square feet. I kind of don't believe that. This one says it's 2,700 square feet. They're probably including a basement or something like that. At least in Indianapolis, the square footages on Zillow always seem to just make absolutely no sense. So I'm kind of just not going to pay attention to that. But this sold for $425,000, and we can kind of go through, and I like to look at what the actual statistics are on here, the facts and features and everything. So we can see, year built. This is built in 2023. This is literally a brand new house. So if we wanted to achieve this ARV, we'd literally have to tear down this house and build this, right? That's not going to happen, but it doesn't mean that we can't look at these pictures and say, okay, in the new houses, what are they putting in there to get top ARV, right? Okay, white siding, black trim, looks really modern, right? We've got herringbone floors and quartz countertops, and these are literally Lowe's cabinets. I'm pretty sure they're not that fancy. They just have fancy hardware. This is ultra super stylized. In this particular neighborhood, if anybody watches Good Bones on HGTV, they are based in this exact neighborhood. I used to live in this neighborhood, and this very well could have been one of their homes because they do some new build type stuff as well. So this could have literally been on HGTV.
2 Chicks.
Yeah, 2 Chicks and a Hammer is their actual company. And they have a property, a business office / store right down the street. So, I mean, you can look at this and go, okay, this is what we got to do to get top ARV for this house, go all out. That tile is actually really terrible, and it doesn't even look like real tile. But stylized thing, super nice garage and everything on here. So, okay, we can go all out on this property, make it look really stylized, but we're still never going to achieve $425,000 because we're not building a brand new house, right? So that's kind of the top of the neighborhood. Then we come one down, which is just down the street the other direction. And we can kind of look at this. This is also probably a newer built home. Yeah, year built 2023. Again, this is probably the same builder almost, but you can see this one's not quite as stylized, and you can obviously see that there's a difference there. You know, it's still all nice and open, you know, black cabinets, and I go through pictures really quickly. So if I need to slow down, let me know. But like, I know that these tiles come straight from Home Depot because we've used them before. So like, there's nothing fancy in here that you can't get. Carpet in the bedroom, so they went a little bit cheaper on this house. But again, it's all super, super, super nice. You know, again, you're never going to achieve that 402 ARV because you're not building a brand new 4-bed, 3-bathroom house. Go one step down in the neighborhood, and it jumps down about $100,000. And this is pretty sure this is a non-new build home. Yeah, this was built in 1890, so definitely not a new house. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,800 square feet, so it's smaller but has an extra bathroom compared to ours. It's like 1 block over from our actual house, and it looks really nice. Like, it's got a window AC up here, so it's nothing super fancy. Like, we could definitely get that subject property to look like this property, right? If not, almost better. So it's got decent. Looks like hardwood floors, maybe just a really nice luxury vinyl. You know, not super stylized. This actually looks like somebody lived in it. They didn't really flip it, because I would have never put this ceiling fan in here. It just looks like it's straight from the 90s. But they've got it all staged and everything. It looks all fancy and nice. You know, kitchen is really nothing special, but they got granite countertops. So, you know, we definitely want to quote granite countertops, white cabinets, stainless steel appliances when we're looking at this particular property. And I haven't even gotten to, is this property a rental or is this property a flip, right? So right now we're just looking at how high of an ARV could we actually achieve by doing a full-blown rehab on this. So you can see, I mean, they got really small bedrooms, nothing fancy about the bathrooms. So this is basically just like builder's grade, but functional. Some nice floors, you know, some fancy wallpaper. They have a lot of photos on this. Oh, a cool little loft. That's what has the HVAC, the AC unit. Another full bathroom. So we got 2 full bathrooms here. Oh, they actually have pictures of the basement. Nice yard.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like this thing has a garage as well. Yep. So this has got a really nice 2-car garage, which we do not have on our subject property. So that's going to definitely detract a little bit. These are just street pictures now. So we know we can make it look at least as nice as this, but we're not going to have a garage on there. So our ARV is probably not quite going to be 300,000. So then we go to the next highest property we can find, and oh, here's one for 284, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2,500 square feet. It doesn't look like they really did anything to this house. I mean, at least on the outside, it's maybe, you know, decent siding, generic front door. Everything in this is straight from Home Depot or Lowe's. Like, these are Lowe's cabinets. These are just the cheapest Frigidaire appliances you can get. Oh, let me let people in here. Here we go. You know, stainless steel appliances though, gray flooring. Like, this is just like a super, super generic flip. Like, okay. They highlighted I know for a fact this is a $50 light fixture, but nothing fancy about this thing. This would be, you know, really nice, you know, rental grade property. But again, they've got a massive 2-car garage on here, and they've got 1 extra bathroom that we don't have. So this one sold for 284 on here. Those are the best comps that we have as far as ARV goes. So we have a couple guesses we have to make. So what's a garage worth, right? You still have off-street parking and everything here, but you don't have a garage, right? And what's an extra bathroom worth? And does it make sense to add that into this property? So for me, if you were going to flip this property, you would have to add a bathroom to make it 2 full baths. I don't know where you would do that in this property. We'll go back and look at the photos. But you need to add a bathroom, and you need to make it really nice. You're not going to build a garage or anything like that necessarily. That's probably going to go too deep into it. You probably could, but that's probably more money than it's actually worth. And you're probably still going to achieve an ARV of, I would say probably around the 250 range, just as, looking at this property, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, similar square footage. You just subtract out the garage. If I'm running my numbers, I'm like, okay, I think our ARV can be 250,000 because we don't have a garage, right? So then coming back to our subject property, I know we didn't go through the photos a whole bunch in detail on here, but kind of looking at it. So I'm going to come through here and look at this and go, okay, if I'm going to flip this property, whoops, what do I need to do to this to get it up to those standards, right? So on here, we've got 2 different types of siding. We didn't see any comps that had 2 different mismatched looking sidings and stuff on there. So we're either going to have to paint it or replace it. And we'll know more from doing a site visit on, is it in good enough condition? What kind of siding is it? I don't really like to paint vinyl, but we definitely can. And then coming into the main room here, it's like, okay, all the walls got to get painted, all the trim. It's not going to happen. You can already see there's multiple different kinds of flooring here. This flooring is not going to cut it, right? Same all around here. Like, why did they mount the blinds like a quarter way down the window? I have no idea. Probably a new front door on here, new fixtures on here. The kitchen is a really nice large space. It's got gas and everything in here. The kitchen is right in front of the window, or the sink's right in front of the window, which is great, but this layout makes absolutely no sense. It needs like an island or this wall blown out or something like that in here. Obviously new flooring and stuff in there, new appliances. This is not great. New flooring in the bathroom. Shower insert is reasonably fine. Maybe do some new hardware and stuff here, a different shower head that doesn't look like that. Again, lots of paint on here. Flooring. This is, I don't know what this is, but at least painting this up.
Is it?
The what?
My grandma said they call that a California closet.
Okay. I thought that was a company that did custom design closets, but okay.
Yeah.
We'll call it that. So doing whatever to that California closet for Nick's grandma. All the light fixtures, all the switches, like some of them are black, some of them are white. We got to get those things taken care of. But these pictures don't really tell us a whole lot. It's got a really nice backyard. It's got a nice tree back here. Obviously, we see no garage. Back here, you can kind of see that siding is really worn. It looks like it's been painted before on here. So we're definitely having to do something with the siding on there. And then there's this unfinished kind of attic space. So definitely new flooring, paint, light fixtures. And then up here, if you're going to make this a livable space to maximize that square footage and everything, one, you got to make sure the ceilings are tall enough. So kind of by this railing, assuming this is 36 inches, you're going to be really close to like 7 feet right up here. And then obviously insulating this, finishing it all out, making sure there's ductwork up there, all that kind of stuff. But you can't tell that from the photos. So now we kind of know like what the finishes need to be in this property, but now we need to actually figure out how much this stuff is going to cost. So I'm going to do this. Nick, I don't want you to add anything in yet because we haven't seen this property yet. So we're going to go purely off the photos and everything based on this. So starting on the exterior, and kind of what I like to do when analyzing a property is just, take out my, whatever, my pen and paper or your phone or whatever, and just kind of create a list on what you think. So siding on here, and we're going to try to kind of quote it like worst case scenario. So let's just say, we've got siding, let's just say we're going to do new siding. Let's say we can't paint it. It's in terrible shape, new siding and everything on there. Does anybody have a guess on what it would cost to reside this house? Just a super rough estimate on what I'm going to guess what my numbers are going to be. Nick's not allowed to guess. Oh, Mike, I don't think your microphone works. You're unmuted, but nothing. Oh, maybe.
$3,000. Maybe
Oh, you
more.
think it's going to cost $3,000 to reside this house?
I don't know. You said rough. Yes, it was very rough.
Rough guess, aiming on the higher side is what I would normally do when looking at
So, well, in
these.
that case, 10,000, because every project I seem to want to do about my house is $10,000.
And honestly, that's probably what I would put if I was just running numbers. Do I think it's actually going to cost $10,000 to reside this house? No, I don't. But there's always other little things that kind of come up, and all we're looking for is rough numbers. So I'm going to say, okay, the exterior of this house, between new siding and maybe some touch-ups and things like that, let's say we spend $10,000 on the outside to get it to kind of look like the other ones, right? Whatever, paint this railing up, paint this foundation and stuff here, paint the brick, get the siding replaced, do some touch-ups, maybe there's some gutter fixes, whatever. Exterior, we're just, siding and stuff, we're just going to say $10,000, right? So interior, so we have interior paint. So this is like a 2,700 square foot house is what it's telling us. That seems really big for the pictures. Nick, did it feel that big when you were there?
So it is fairly large. I think they're including the attic space because it is considered livable in the attic.
Okay. Gotcha.
That
sounds good.
Span of the house,
Okay, cool. So again, running rough numbers and stuff like that to paint a house of this size, like you already said it, every project I want to do in my house is $10,000. I'm going to put that to paint the entire house, trim, paint, everything, $10,000, right? We're looking at big giant items right now. We also know we need to do the flooring in this property. I'm going to put another $10,000. If it is actually 2,700 square foot, flooring could be a little more than $10,000, but kind of what I like to do for every big item that needs done is budget $10,000. So I'm not even worried about the light fixtures or blinds or anything like that, right? So then we've got the kitchen. So we've got this kitchen in here that is pretty much unusable. None of the cabinets or anything like that are actually usable. And generally what we use for flips is just kind of the nice Lowe's cabinets that you saw in the actual subject properties and stuff there. To get this kitchen up to par, throwing an aisle in there, this and that, new appliances. So new appliances are generally going to cost you about $3,500 to $4,000. Let's just say $4,000 for all the appliances. And then you spend another $4,000 in cabinets and hardware and install and all that kind of stuff. So you're at $8,000. So brand new kitchen, $10,000. Again, these are really, really rough numbers. So we're up to $40,000 right now, which I'm feeling good about in order to kind of get this house done based on what we've seen so far. Bathroom and everything here. So we only have one bathroom in here. So we already got the flooring and stuff included. We said the shower and stuff is fine. Toilet is fine. This vanity, who knows what's going on in there. But it's, for the bathroom, it looks like it's mostly cosmetic. There's only one bathroom, but if you remember, we looked at the comps and they all had 2 full bathrooms to get maximum ARV and everything on there. So for this bathroom on here, you would probably spend, let's just say you did it up even nicer and you spent $3,500 on this bathroom, right? You took out the shower insert, you kept the tub, you did a nice tile surround and everything on there. You did a different vanity, maybe you added a double sink. It looks like you got enough room. You spent $3,500 on this bathroom. And then adding a bath, that's like a super major thing, depending on where you can do it and everything. Anytime you're adding a bathroom, it doesn't always cost $20,000, but that's a super major thing. I'm going to put $20,000 in my budget to say, okay, we need to add a bathroom, right? I don't even know where we can add it. It doesn't matter. We know that we need to add one in order to achieve maximum ARV based on what we saw in the neighborhood and the comps. They all had 2 full bathrooms, right? So we already got the paint and the flooring covered, which is all this, painting up that closet thing there. not worrying about fixtures or anything. The yard looks nice. We're not building a garage or anything. We already got the exterior covered on this. And then we kind of go up through this attic portion. Nick, is this room in the attic?
It is.
Okay, cool. So we're getting a little bit of insight. So we're just going to call it finishing the attic. So we already have paint and everything like that included. We already have new floors and stuff up in here. But looking at this room is, so finishing the attic. Anybody want to guess what number I'm going to put?
$9,000.
Ooh, $10,000.
Yeah,
$20,000.
I'm literally going to put $10,000. Like, this is not that hard because we're going through broad things right now, and you might be a little low, you might be a little high. We're trying to aim a little bit high right now because we just don't know what's going on. But I can tell you from experience, we have 17 renovation projects going on right now. It costs about 10 grand to like finish out this attic and everything, you know, so and to do the exterior stuff on this house, and you know, for the flooring in this, we're really not that far off on this stuff. And again, we're just looking for big rough numbers right now. I'm not even going to go into like fixture replacement or door replacement or anything like that, right? So finishing this attic, getting all that stuff done. You know, we can't see any of the electrical. We can't see any of the HVAC or anything like that in these pictures, right? This is just, I'm on Zillow, I'm perusing properties. What do I think is going to happen, right? Finishing out this attic space, I'm throwing in a $10,000 number on there. So we're at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 73, 500. I feel like we can make this house really freaking nice for 70, let's just call it 75 grand. And definitely compete with those comps, right? So if you remember going back to what our comps were for this property, we said this was kind of the closest. We felt like we could get, you know, maybe 250 because we don't have a garage. We're adding in a bathroom and everything like that. You know, here's our subject property. So I'm going to take $250,000 minus 168,500, which is what they're asking. Let's say we get it for asking price. It's been up here for a little bit, minus $75,000. And that leaves me with $6,500 in profit, which is totally not going to work. That will be eaten up in 4 seconds by closing costs. So this particular deal is not going to make sense as a flip, at least with the current price that they have it for, which is probably a reason why it's been on the market for 20 days when the average both here in Cincinnati and in Indianapolis is about 4 to 5 days on the market. So the good deals go fast. That's why this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense as a flip property. However, we haven't analyzed it as a rental property. So we know it's going to cost 75 grand to get this property up to flip standards, which you could always do down the road, especially in a developing neighborhood like this. You can always just sit on it and not really do that much and just rent it out for right now, buy it for 168, and then we'll figure out, you know, what it can kind of rent for. I've got some rental comps that Nick kindly pulled up for us as well, for this neighborhood, and kind of look at those and put really, really, really minimal things in here just to kind of get it safe and looking good, but then know that you're sitting on this nest egg where this neighborhood is constantly appreciating and new homes are constantly being built and everything, so that when 5 years down the road, when you kick a tenant out, right, they're like, oh, you know, they left, but now you have a property that you can sink the 75 grand into or whatever it may need to be. And at that time, maybe this particular house is worth 450,000, right? And those numbers finally make sense. And you are paying down your mortgage. You have equity in the house. You are making cash flow, hopefully, while that actual renter was in there, but you didn't do a whole lot, right? So this didn't really work as a flip, but I still like this property for some reason. I like the neighborhood. Let's see if this works as a rental, right? So we kind of know what ARV can be if we go all out on on kind of like a flip rehab and everything. And even this one, if you put 75 grand into it, you can do that as a really nice, you know, BRRRR rental type property, but it's too nice and it's not going to cash flow, right? This neighborhood is just the ARV is too high to produce a cash flowing rental. if you do, major rehabs and everything like that. It would appraise for too much, and you'd almost be crossing your fingers and hope to God that it appraised for less, or you just have to leave a lot of cash in that deal, which some people are okay with, some people are not okay with. It just depends. So I've got a couple of rental comps and stuff here. So this particular property is this is a duplex, but it's smaller. It's literally like around the block. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and it's a duplex for $1,750 a month. And you can see it's not like quite the flipped finishes on here. It's pretty small, carpet, rental grade. It's not great, but we could get that subject property to look a lot like this with just some paint, right? You could put $10,000 into some paint and, $5,000 into the kitchen or, something like that, and only have to spend $15,000 to $20,000 to get it to look like this. And then you're only in 180,000, and you can potentially get this to rent for $1,750 a month, right? And single family properties are always going to rent for a premium, even if they don't look as nice. To get that whole house, even with 1 bathroom looking semi decent, you can achieve this rent because they're not sharing a wall with anybody, and you have almost twice the square footage up there, right? You don't even have to finish the attic, right? Let's just say you don't finish the attic at all, right? It just becomes storage and stuff for them. You put super minimal things into it, and you just kind of keep your money into it, right? So let's say you're all in for $190,000, and you can get $1,750 a month in rent in a really appreciating neighborhood that you have this nest egg in, to then fix it up once you feel like it, 5, 10, 15, 30 years down the road, right? After your tenant has paid everything for you, right? So there's nothing special about that. They have like 5 photos on here, and there's nothing special about this rental that would tell me that, hey, you can't get $1,750 a month in rent for that single family house, right? We've got this other one here as well, which is a little bit less, but look how terrible this looks. Like, this is also a duplex. There's a lot of side-by-side duplexes in Indianapolis. Me and Nick saw one where I could see the basement from the 2nd floor the other day. It was collapsed in. It looked exactly like this. It was terrifying, but you guys can kind of see, like, one, the pictures are terrible. There's nothing special about this. Like, what? They can't even stand. Look at closing this door and sitting on the toilet. Like, I'm 6'6". I couldn't even do that, right? Look at this sink. It's like an airplane bathroom. And they're trying to get $1,600 a month. And keep in mind, these are properties that are for rent, not rented out. So you kind of have to take them with a grain of salt, but chances are something like this is going to get rented out, right? Yes, it has 2 bathrooms and stuff in it, but one of them's a half bath a full bath that's barely usable, and it's not a single family. So you're sharing this yard and everything like that. It doesn't have a garage. You're sharing everything with somebody else. And having a single family house all to yourself with a nice fenced in backyard definitely comes at a premium. So this even just gives me more confidence that we can get $1,750, $1,800 a month for our subject property with just painting it, right? I mean, paint the trim white, paint the walls white, and go on from there. So I like this one as a rental, right? We can maybe be all in for a $20,000 rehab. Maybe we just leave our money into there. We can still do a hard money loan. We can still refinance if we don't have the cash to rehab or anything like that. But it makes sense as a rental potentially, and it should be a cash flowing rental, because with single family, your tenant is going to pay all of the utilities and expenses, and well, not all the expenses, but utilities and all that kind of stuff that you would be paying on a multifamily property, right? So I think for me, this is one that I would, send me and Nick an email and say, hey, I kind of like this one. I don't like it as, you guys send it out as a flip, maybe that's what happened, but I really like it as a rental, right? That's totally fine. We can investigate this, further as an actual rental property, and then go and actually see it for ourselves, right? So this is what you're going to get. It's just a Google Drive folder with a whole bunch more detailed pictures and videos and stuff like that. Nick kind of went all out, and look, we got photos of all of the utilities and the basement and everything. So we've got like street view pictures of the alleyway. So you've got, tons of parking and stuff here. And all we're going to use these photos for is to kind of just really shore up those numbers that we have as a rental property, right? So like going through these, okay, cool, fence is fine, it's fine. Yeah, there's a big tree. Maybe looks like this window's broken that we might have to fix it. We might see that a little later. It doesn't look too good out here, but again, it's a rental property and nobody cares. You saw what the rental comps looked like and they look terrible. You can paint it up down the road after your tenant's done destroying your property. So we've got some window rot and stuff here. As long as it's not dangerous and the glass isn't broken, your renter pays for your utilities. So having really terrible windows doesn't matter, because you are just going to have to, if you do new ones, you're just going to have to replace them again when you go to flip it. So why put that money in right now? So railing and stuff like that looks secure. Looks like we don't really have to do anything there. Again, we're going to want to fix this peeling paint because it's going to be hard to get a loan or a tenant in there, and potential lead paint with peeling paint and stuff like that. So add a little bit on your your budget for that, right? Minimal. The floors aren't in bad shape. Maybe you can keep them. Yeah, it's a lot of different flooring types. It's really ugly and stuff, but people are renting it for the space. As long as it's not dangerous or anything, you don't really have to do anything. It's a video. Nope, just a blurry picture.
Sorry.
It's all right. Looks like it needs a good cleaning. I can literally see the dust on the ceiling fan, but assuming the ceiling fan works, you're not going to get any more rent right now for adding in a brand new ceiling fan. And you're not trying to achieve top ARV to pull your money out or anything like that. Even leaving this like that is not going to do much. But if you're painting the whole house, maybe you just go ahead and paint this up, get rid of the brown trim, get rid of the yellowish, what looks like smoke stain walls. But we don't see anything in here that's like broken. Kitchen is not great, but test everything out, make sure it works. Make sure your refrigerator works, make sure your oven works. If it does, great, keep it in there. If it doesn't, throw some new appliances in there. I would just throw in some cheap stainless steel Frigidaire appliances in there. Ooh, cool. Stainless steel appliances might get you more attention as a renter, but not necessarily any more rent on here based on the comps, right? Some areas you have to renovate all out to get top rent and stuff like that, but we've already seen in this area you don't really have to do that. Okay, so it might like there's some weird plumbing, electrical work, something like that going on here. This is why we get home inspections. So this panel is pretty old. Doesn't look like we have a lot of outdated wiring or anything like that in here. Oh, Nick, so the bathroom is how you get up through to the attic? Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Another blurry picture.
Hey.
Toilet, like none of this is bad. Like this is a little gross. If this flooring, if we knew that this was like asbestos flooring, we would probably want to like paint over it or encapsulate it. But again, for a rental, we're not going to finish this attic. It's just going to be storage space. So it looks like this window might be broken here or something like that. So maybe we got to replace this one window or fix the glass pane or something like that. Nick, is there 3 bedrooms without including this attic bedroom space?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I counted that. Sometimes you just have to go through the photos and just count it. So this is really could be like a 4-bed.
It's technically a 4-bed because they all have closets.
Yeah. So even if you didn't want to finish out the whole attic space, maybe you make this another bedroom and market it as a 4-bedroom, right? You can include that in your rent and figure out, okay, well, what can I get for rent as a 4-bedroom? So roof here looks fine. It's really ugly. Not going to get you top ARV, but it'll rent just fine. Look, there's free parking across the street and you can park your car over there apparently. Man, he sure did take a lot of photos of the attic. So like this isn't going to get you any more, like just make this look decent and it'll be fine. Nick, when do I get to your video? I'm just going to exit out of this.
I think it's.
So we do. Yeah, here we go. So the photos definitely, you know, add a lot. And the most major things when we're going to photos is kind of looking at the utilities here. So I was almost there. So we've got gas in this property coming in here, just old lead gas line. A water heater that's not hooked up.
Yeah, that's like there's the real one.
Okay, so we've got HVAC system and stuff here. Hot water heater literally looks brand new. Assume we, you know, maybe test it out, make sure it works, but assume we don't have to replace that. Cool. That's an item we don't need to worry about. Crawl space there. Thermostat. He didn't get a picture of the furnace or the out. Does this have an outside air unit? It does. The air handler. The furnace is actually right here. But does it have a central air unit?
I
didn't see anything on the outside.
There's
okay.
two sides. I know there's nothing on one side. It might be on the other. I don't know. If there is.
Right. If there's not, add that to your budget to just add in, you know, central air and stuff in there.
It right there in the beginning. If you look right there in the beginning of the video, that way right there, I don't see anything, so I'm gonna say no. Because there's definitely nothing on the other side.
Yep, I got you. He's still learning, everybody. So, but you know, assuming the furnace is good and there's no central AC unit, right? It's going to cost, you know, $4,500 or whatever to add a central air unit into this house. So the entire property, it had ductwork everywhere. So the entire property and stuff, you know, had that, right? So we went from rental, we said maybe we spend 15 to 20 grand to maybe we're spending, you know, 25 grand or so in miscellaneous items with a furnace and depending on if you want to, you know, 25 to 30 grand if you want to finish out that bedroom and stuff up there, marketed as a 4-bedroom and everything. But I think this definitely makes a lot more sense as a rental property over a flip property. What questions do you guys have on going through this? I know I go through things kind of fast, but I hope that you know, progression from, oh, I really like this neighborhood. Maybe this is a good flip opportunity to, nope, this isn't a good flip opportunity. Maybe it's a good rental opportunity. I hope that all kind of made sense. And then how we can kind of determine rehab, reflecting and using comparable properties, comparable rental properties and comparable ARV type properties to kind of determine that. What kind of questions do you guys have?
Hey, Mitch, that's Eric. Regarding the renovation cost estimate, I understand you go through the pictures. I think you've done some like more like a self-assessment, right? Or you know how much it will cost.
Yeah.
But for you know, for people like us, let's say we may not have that kind of experience or confidence to say, or the information. We don't have the sufficient information to call it out. Hey, this is how much it costs. But it's eventually for us, if we were to do a flip or even refi or fix and refi and rental type of thing, do we need to really call a few contractors to do some quotes? Do you think that? You know, think about the whole process, right? We could do something, you know, like what you did, but it's more, I think, ballpark numbers, right? A high level.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the process that we use with our clients. So being general contractors and stuff ourselves, so it's our job between me and Nick and Tony or whoever to give you that the most accurate kind of big number we have. And when I'm going through it, I'm trying to dumb this down a little bit to make it easier for you guys. But like, I'm not assigning $10,000 to everything. Me doing so many, I mean, I've probably done like 50 plus renovation projects over the last 2.5 years or something like that, or more, right? So I have like a ticking list on what every little individual item costs in my head, but that's really hard for me to explain and put it on paper for you guys. So that's why I kind of just do big overlying things. But between me and Nick or any of our agents, it's our job to give you, an accurate quote on what we would run our numbers at if we were investing in that property, or if we're doing the rehab for you, right? I can't control if I tell you, hey, it's going to be $75,000 to renovate this property, right? You purchase it with us and you decide not to use us for the general contracting, and you have somebody else come in there. Oh, no. They were way off. It's going to be $120,000, right? Like I can't control that, but I can control and say, well, hey, I told you it was going to be $75,000, $80,000 on this renovation, right? We need to do what we can to fit it into that. And I'm not always right, but I have skin in the game from the very beginning to be right? Because I don't want to sell you something and then have it come down the road and have it be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 more expensive on the renovations, because that does not look good on us. And I guarantee you probably wouldn't use us again to buy anything. If that was the case.
Yeah, the reason I was just asking a general question, not necessarily, in this particular situation, because you guys would be doing the GC, right? Or that thing make our life easy. I'm just thinking in general, if we were to do some cost estimation, we would have to call a few contractors. Is that right? Or more like
absolutely. Normally you would, if it was a market outside of our territory, or you wanted to, to check our pricing or whatever, you definitely want to call some contractors and have them take a look at this property, right? A lot of people will try to do that before they get it in contract. That's not going to happen, right? Like with good properties, not saying this one isn't good. It could potentially be, but like the ones that come on and, oh my God, this is great, I need to jump on it. You don't have time to be like calling up, hey, I'm going to do a walkthrough. Can I get, 4 contractors out there to walk? No, you got to get that locked up in contract. And if you're going to have your contractors walk it, they need to go during the inspection period, right? Depending on, whatever you have in there. And they need to probably go all at the same time, especially if there's a tenant involved and everything. You have to make it as streamlined as possible. And you as the investor, being the one, the syndicate essentially for all these contractors, you have to be the one to organize all that and make sure that, 4 contractors show up on time and everything, which can be a lot harder than it really is. But like when we're going to walk these properties and stuff for you, we're kind of doing that as a contractor quote. Right, not a quote. It is a rough estimate based on experience, but never have I been more than a couple $1,000s off. Maybe $10,000 off because there was we needed one recently. We had to replumb an entire house that we just had no idea because it was a hoarder house. We literally couldn't see anything in it, and even then, we're still we just had to adjust the budget a little bit on some other things to kind of accommodate that. Right, I don't have X-ray vision. I can't see through trash and walls and in the street, right? That's why we recommend getting sewer scopes and inspections if you want to, and things like that to kind of just build that list of what we know about the property, so then we can adjust what our numbers are going to be as far as a renovation goes. And whether you do that with us or multiple different contractors, it still comes down to the investor has to be the one to do all of that work and make sense of kind of what the contractors are giving them, right? Because every contractor has a different opinion on what's going on and what needs to be done, and their scope of works all look different. And I have some clients who actually give me a scope of work on a property and say, this is what we want done to this property. Let us know what your estimate is to kind of get this done, right, within this scope of work. And I can make comments and be like, well, I think you really need to do this instead of that and that and this. But then every contractor is working off the same scope. That's the biggest thing.
I hear you. Yeah, let's say if you done a high level estimate, right? Assuming there is a either on market or off market, right? You did the walkthrough, you had a high level estimate, but are you going to provide at what point it would provide a more accurate quote? Let's say, more like with long items, right? Line by line, that's how much it would cost.
So we will not provide you an itemized quote until you close on the property. So until
Oh,
you own
okay.
it, right? Until you own the property, I'm not going to go in there and get you an itemized quote, because when we go and do that, I'm going to spend multiple hours in the property,
Uh-huh.
depending on the size and everything like that, to get you as accurate of the line item quote as possible. That way, you know, we both have skin in the game, right? Like, I'm not going to do that right from the get-go, because it takes me forever to get you an accurate line item quote. And truthfully, like, I just don't have the time to do that, right? Some contractors do, that's great, good for them. We don't do that, right? You have to own the property. We basically have to have a verbal, like, hey Mitch, I'm planning on using you for the rehab and stuff on this. If you want to have other people come through and check us on pricing and get another opinion, that's totally fine. I can't control what you do. It's your property, you own it at that point, but I won't give you an itemized quote or anything like that until you've closed and you own the property.
But how big is the deviation would be, between your high level quote and the actual quote after the property is closed?
Hey, this is Tony. Important part
Yeah.
of is that when we're doing, well, like when I'm doing a property evaluation and everyone else for that matter, we're giving good ballpark numbers that are also, for the most part, like Mitch just said, are going to like encompass if there's some weird overage, that there are just a bunch of unknowns, especially in old property, right? So
Yeah.
we're to be giving you a really good ballpark estimate. So even if we're like over on one place and under on another place, you're not going to find crazy overages on everything anyone could possibly know. Now, of course, if you're talking about a house that was built in 1890, there is a possibility that there are things you just don't know. And in addition, own the house and you do the final walkthrough, you might make some different decisions on stuff that you want done that we wouldn't, or we're together going to get it and recommend that, you know what, we include this quote, but this would probably be a nice addition if you wanted to add it, or conversely, something that you don't want to do and we want to subtract from it.
Yeah, and that goes the same for hard money as well. So any of our clients who are getting hard money, is we have to provide them with a scope of work for that hard money loan before we close on the property. But I'm not spending hours in this property doing that. I'm doing it based on the photos, and I'm doing it based on kind of what we've talked about, conversations, inspections, and things like that. And then it's really general, and I'm really going to kind of inflate the prices on there. And you're going to have maybe, in $100,000 rehab, you might have 10 to 20 line items on there, right? Which is obviously not as many line items as there would actually be in a real quote. There would be far more than that. But all that matters on that hard money scope of work is the actual total dollar amount at the end, right? And we're just pulling money from there. And we can change it if we need to with change orders and things like that. Because a lot of people think that our hard money scope of work is a quote, right? And they're like, well, the quote that you sent us when I closed on it isn't the same as the hard money one. No, it's not, because it just got a lot more accurate, because we spent 3 hours in this property doing a full scope of work on this that we didn't do before you closed, right? And the deviation, like I said, I don't think I've ever been more than maybe $10,000 off on a quote. And especially if you're our client and you bought the property with us, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that you stay within budget on there. Right now, there's things that I can't control, right? If you didn't do a sewer scope and your sewer is collapsed and now it's a $10,000 fix, okay, well, we're not staying within budget. And if you are, we're obviously going to eliminate some items that you thought you were going to do, right? So it's our job to kind of work together on those things. And we've got skin in the game from the beginning, so we want to make sure that you can stay within that budget and everything. But things are always changing all the time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. What other kind of questions do we have? Oh man, Mike, your mic still isn't working.
Yeah, if no one asks, I have another question. You mentioned that the exit strategy, right, could be a flip, could be a rental.
Yep.
But what about if I want to do Airbnb? Do you think that that's another exit, or in terms of renovations, it needs to be as good as a flip, or?
Yeah, Airbnb is definitely, it's just another path that you can go down, and you're going to analyze it. You're going to go on Airbnb. You're going to go, or AirDNA or whatever, go into that neighborhood and figure out what the finishes are on the competing Airbnbs that are similar to yours and figure out exactly where you need to be at finish wise. And Airbnbs are definitely more flip quality. And you have to add in the cost of furnishing an entire place, right? Which is easily 10, 15, 20 grand, depending on the actual size of the place on there. So it's just another strategy that you can have and another way to analyze it, but it's not any different than what we just did, right? You're just looking at different comps, right? You're looking at AirDNA and Airbnb and short-term rental comps versus long-term rental comps or flip ARV comps and stuff like that. But your ARV on a Airbnb is going to be closer to what max ARV would be with an actual flip, right? Because that's the finish level you have to do is going to be a lot closer to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can.
Oh, cool. Lately, you've been sending out bigger properties. Do you do like a square foot adjustment? So if you're looking at a 3,000 square foot property versus a 1,200 square foot property, I would think the cost would change quite a bit.
It's like, truthfully, it's not that different. Like, so there's only a couple things that, like, flooring is absolutely your biggest change, I think, when square footage of a property goes up. Because if you're going to redo the flooring on everything, it's just more material, it's more labor, it's more work on the flooring. And paint goes up a little bit, but paint's not that expensive. You're already there painting a 1,200 square foot house. Doing a 2,000 square foot house is not that different, right? It maybe goes up, a couple $1,000s or something like that, but it's not gonna, if it's double the square footage, it's not double the cost or anything like that. So you could do like square footage based estimates and things like that. And I know a lot of contractors who have kind of been in the game, right, for 30, 40, 50 years, whatever, have done that a lot. I feel like every property is kind of unique, and I don't really like doing that because it's just so dependent on what material you're using, what the level of finish needs to be. I prefer just to kind of make a list. It's easier for me. Just because there's not that much that change per square footage. Now, when we're quoting flooring, when we're quoting paint, when we're quoting if there's massive drywall amounts and stuff like that, like we're going to provide you on our itemized quote, we're going to provide you with numbers that are based on square footage, right? How many sheets of drywall do we need? How many square feet of new walls do we need to make? How many square foot of flooring? We generally charge like $6 a square foot to lay luxury vinyl plank, right? And get everything prepped and done and things like that. And okay, it's a 2,500 square foot house that generally costs XYZ in paint and materials and things like that, right? So for those items, we're using, square footage to come up with our quotes. But for running rough numbers and stuff like that, I don't really use square footage a whole lot.
I think I've thought about it with John's house, like that one for on Park. I was thinking about, wow, that's going to be a lot of flooring to read. But I think our numbers are broad enough to kind of encompass most of those changes, with the exception of clearly, like if you're replacing the roof, you do need to know how many squares they are, because that definitely changes the cost of the roof, but it's incremental. Mm-hmm. It's not like double. Because
right. And even for like an asphalt roof, if I'm looking at it, the roof needs to be replaced. Cool. I'm going to put 10 grand in there, right? On a regular single family asphalt roof,
Right. Exactly.
Might be a little high, might be a little low.
I feel the same about that. Like in general, I'm saying if it needs a new roof, I'm saying that's a $10,000 figure. We just had my parents' roof done for $8,500, but that again is also saves you in what happens when you find weird plumbing.
Yep, exactly. There's checks and balances and things like that, and you can beat yourself to death trying to come up with something extremely accurate, but it just you need to be able to analyze properties extremely quickly, make offers based on rough numbers, honestly, and then you just take it down the path until it stops making financial sense as far as the numbers go, right? Oh my God, we need new HVAC and a new roof and this, and I didn't account for that, and nobody ever told us that, right? Cool, then we're going to work for you to try to get a purchase price reduction or something along those lines to keep the deal going. It's our job to keep the deal going, right? And for you to buy something that the numbers actually make sense, right? But if it doesn't, it doesn't. Cool, let's drop it, get our earnest money back, and go find a different property, right? You take it down the path until it stops making financial sense.
So rough numbers then, a new kitchen's going to be how much? A new bathroom should be how much?
So kitchens, it depends if it's like rental grade or flip grade, but like kitchens are typically, $75 to $12,000 or something like that for a decent kitchen, right? And we're using Lowe's cabinet, Lowe's cabinets, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. Hopefully there's no major plumbing. We're not moving things around or anything like that. We had a $720,000 flip property we did last year, and on that kitchen we spent like 20 grand because it was all like $11,000 in custom cabinets and really massive quartz countertops, but it's a $720,000 house. It had to be amazing, right? But on most rentals or flips and stuff like that, between, it could be 5 grand, it could be 12 grand on a kitchen, right? Depends on the size, depends on what the comp finishes are, right? Do you have to do, quartz countertops? Do you have to do big islands? Do you have to do stainless steel appliances? Do you have to do custom cabinets, right? Bathrooms and everything. If I'm looking at a bathroom, we don't typically move things around in a bathroom unless it just doesn't make sense. A cosmetic redo on a bathroom is like $35,000 to $5,000, depending on the size and everything, right? New vanity, new mirror, new lights, new tub and shower insert if it's a rental. Tile gets a little bit more expensive, kind of on the higher end on that. A new toilet is like $250, right? A toilet and an install is not that expensive. Assuming you're just running the same flooring throughout the whole thing, or even just flooring in a little bathroom and stuff is not that much. So, we're typically between 35 and 55 on a bathroom, depending on finish level. But adding in a bathroom is definitely a different beast. What other kind of questions do we have?
Would you add on things, sorry, Mitch, would you add on things like covered outdoor seating, things like that, covered, just kind of additional things? Or would you really stick to the comps and that guideline?
Yeah, I stick to the comps and see what they have. The only time I've ever considered building like a pergola or nice outdoor seating or something like that is in an Airbnb property, right? Is we were going to purchase one. It had this little gravel lot basically as a backyard, and it was really close to all the neighbors, right? So we needed to build a privacy fence around it. We needed to build a nice pergola. We needed to put little string lights up there and maybe a little hot tub out there. You know what I mean? Like that's the only time you're going above and beyond. But like for like a flip property, even the $720,000 flip property we did, all we did was a brick paver patio, some concrete stairs that went down, brick paver patio, and we built in a nice little fire pit and stuff around it with some pea gravel. That was it, right? And the house sold for $700,000. So you have to really take into account like what the comps have, what other flippers are doing, and what you feel is actually going to add tangible value, right? Because outdoor stuff, I think, is one of the biggest things that adds almost no value to your property, but it makes it feel nice, right? Which is great for a short-term rental Airbnb type deal. But for a flip and everything, if they want to do that, they can do that themselves and take the loss on it. We're providing them with a property that is completely move-in ready, and they're going to do all the personalization stuff themselves, right? I'm kind of in between that too on like finishing a basement is a big thing, right? Some people are like, well, you should let them finish the basement themselves, or you shouldn't, right? And I say, look at the comps, right? Do the comps have finished basements? And because here in Indianapolis and Cincinnati, if you finish a basement and that's livable finished space, that adds directly to your square footage that is listed on the MLS, right? So you go from a 1,200 square foot house to a 2,200 square foot house because you have a full finished basement now. That's, depending on what the comps say, that's huge.
How about finishing out a single car garage to get a third bedroom?
I have never done that here. We have had one property that was already, they finished out a single car garage to a livable space. It wasn't a bedroom though, but they did finish it out to like a family room. There was like a fireplace in there in this garage and everything that was already done. But we just don't do that a lot here. Depends on the neighborhood. Parking can sometimes come at a premium, and at least for here, I know, you know, where you're at over on the West Coast and stuff like that, that's super common. We just don't do that a lot here. You know, we have more than enough space here, honestly, depending on, you know, what area and stuff you're looking in, where, you know, you guys are kind of trying to build little ADUs in every little nook and cranny you can, right? We can definitely do
Yes.
that. It's not always cost effective.
We do
But
hear
adding
a lot of-
bedrooms and bathrooms is always good.
yeah, we have a lot of detached garages and a lot of, especially in the more urban environments, parking is at a premium. So if you have a garage, it's what makes the value better than, I don't know if it would be more than a bedroom, but I think you'd have to look at the cost and see whether it was worth it.
Yeah, it almost is. It almost, because I had one in the Incline District, which Mike, I know you're kind of familiar. That's like by where your Summit property was that you were looking at, and it had 5 bedrooms, but no garage, only street parking, and it comped almost 50 grand less than like a 4-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house with a 2-car garage, because parking comes at such a premium over there because it's a nice developing higher end area, but it's not quite developed. So the people who are spending money kind of want to protect their nice cars and not have to park them on the street. And that was just luckily it was just a rental property, so he didn't necessarily care that much. It hurt a little bit, right? But we did kind of take that into consideration, you know, going from the beginning and looking at that. Is like, you know, I looked at a duplex over there that had a 10-car garage in the same neighborhood in the Incline District, right? But we couldn't get it appraised because there was 0 comps that had a garage that big and a duplex over there with nice enough units and stuff. It appraised $75,000 low because there was no comps to compare it to, and appraisers were just like, oh, the numbers don't compute.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Did you? Yeah, oh man, it was a duplex over on Considine. So I don't know who bought it, but somebody did, and it sucked.
Yeah. Parking is a premium in Cincinnati, I know for sure.
Yep, for sure. What other kind of questions you guys got? I just want to make sure I get everything answered. John, are you available to talk? I kind of want to get your opinion on recently visiting Cincinnati, if you're able to speak on that. Maybe not. He's just listening. Can I call on him and unmute him? I don't know.
Mitch?
Yeah.
When I was looking at houses, I was told several times, and even calculating square footage, that even a finished basement does not count as square footage.
It depends on how the basement is laid out. It has to have, it's just like any other room. It has to have appropriate,
right. You can count a number of bedrooms or something, you know, like for fire purposes or something like that.
It has to have egress windows.
Right.
Egress window, closets.
Yeah.
There are some requirements in order for it to count for a bedroom, but and
right, but like footage. Fannie Mae doesn't count it as square footage if it's below ground.
That's true.
Oh no, in Cincinnati was different for me. My basement had to have egress windows, and depending on the neighborhood, it don't need to have a closet. Depending on the neighborhood, from my lessons since I'm invested in Cincinnati, it really doesn't. Depending on the neighborhood, it don't have to have a closet. It can still be considered a bedroom, even in the basement, and it's livable space from what I learned.
Yeah, it depends on the age of the house with the closet thing, because like my house was built in 1880. I don't have a damn closet in a bedroom in this house. If I listed it, it'd be a 0-bedroom house when it's really like a 2. You know what? Because it's so old. and even the little closets that are literally this deep, because in 1890 you had 2 sets of clothes. One was on your body and one was hanging on the clothesline, right? You didn't need a closet. And we still see a lot of that history stuff in Cincinnati. And at least for me as a realtor, it's, in order for me to call it a bedroom, it has to be at least 7 by 7 by 7. It has to have proper egress, so at least 2 points of exit. That goes for whether it's above grade or below grade, and it has to have a closet for me to feel comfortable in listing it as a bedroom if I am your listing agent on there. Every appraiser sees things differently, and like Fannie and Freddie and stuff like that generally will not count below grade finished space towards like your appraisal and stuff like that. But then I've seen where they have, I've seen where they haven't, and everybody goes through different rules. But again, they're comparing it to comps in the neighborhood, and if those comps have finished basements and it helped them sell for more, then if you finish your basement, they're going to be able to, that's going to be a better comp, and it's going to help your house appraise or sell for more as well. And, you know, it all comes down to just comparing what's in the neighborhood and figuring out, you know, how far do you need to go to get the ARV you need, because sometimes you don't need max ARV, right? If it's a rental property, maybe you just rent it as it is. You're like, no, I just want to buy it as cheap as possible. I don't want max ARV, because then I stop cash flowing and I got to leave a bunch of cash in the deal. I'll fix it up and get max ARV 5 years down the road when I'm ready to sell it and flip it, you know? And that's a lot of things that some people don't always think about. So, but I was going to have John call because he drove down from Ontario, Canada over Friday, but he said he accidentally just left his meeting open, and he saw Cincinnati for the first time, came to a couple of our projects and things like that. And it's definitely a little different than some of the other areas. I know where he is up in, you know, Ontario, Toronto, you know, Canada type area, or, you know, Mike, where you're at over on the West Coast and stuff. It can be a little, it's a little different here, and we kind of play by different rules because a lot of our buildings were built in 18 something or other. So any last questions or anything like that before we hop off here?
One last thing, just really quick, because I mentioned Airbnb. I was wondering in Cincinnati, is there any local rules or bylaws on Airbnb or not at all?
Not that I'm aware of. So I almost just purchased an Airbnb. We decided to back out of it because we had other flip deals and stuff that we felt were better suited to what we're doing right now come up. But Cincinnati's pretty lax on Airbnbs and stuff right now. You know, could there be more stuff that comes through? Maybe. The biggest thing that I see with Airbnbs is looking at like condos as Airbnbs, like downtown and things like that. As HOAs are very, very, very strict on, you cannot do that, right? That's kind of the biggest thing. But as far as like bylaws and things like that go, it's pretty unrestricted in the city of Cincinnati for Airbnbs. I think that's why there's just so many Airbnbs here. It's pretty competitive.
Okay, thank you.
There is a requirement that it's listed as a short-term rental, but there's like, it's a dumb form that you just like pay $15 to file or something silly.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but they're not going to like come, not to my knowledge, there's not like extra tax on it or anything crazy or anything like that they do in some of the cities.
Yeah, there's nothing as far as I know. It's just like a silly form so they can track it. I don't even know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think they just want to know because the city just likes knowing. So, well,
I know
they don't charge a hotel tax.
Corrigan Township doesn't like. They like the short term and they like the long term, but they don't like medium term rentals. They don't allow medium term rentals.
That's weird. I don't distinguish between the two. I call them both furnished rentals, and I have them listed everywhere.
Right.
Airbnb, VRBO.
Try asking the township what the difference is, like where the cutoff line is, and even different people will tell you different things.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
There's no hotel tax in Hamilton County?
There is a hotel
Not that I'm aware of.
In the city. If you're in the city proper, there is.
Yeah, that is true.
I don't know.
County
I don't
knows.
know. I don't know about the county. I only know because we've had to pay it. But in the city proper, there is. I don't know about the county.
So the extra tax then would be if your average rental period is less than 14 days?
I would want to get that verified.
to be exactly sure what the cutoff is.
I don't do a lot of Airbnb, so I know Tony owns an Airbnb, so he knows a little bit more about that and sits on the board for his city. So all good. Neighborhood. So cool. Well, I'm going to jump off here. We're a little bit past time. If anybody has any other follow-up questions or anything like that, I think you all have my email address, text message, whatever. If you have questions on Indianapolis, you can also hit up Nick. His email is just nicholas@huffmanregroup.com. So same ending as mine, just Nicholas at the front. So you're going to be sending a lot more Indianapolis type things, and all the process and everything is basically the same. We've got crews set up there ready to go. GC, project management, we've got Nick there as our agent and stuff there. I'm from Indianapolis, so I know the areas pretty well, but he actively lives there. So he's able to go take a look at the properties like the one we looked at tonight. So if you have any questions there, just let either of us know. So
appreciate
cool.
it, Mick.
Sounds good. Yep. No worries. See you guys.